this is Phil Parker at NIAC discussing the concept of a premise and what goes into a premise, like a short statement that sums up your great new idea. I've talked earlier about concepts of character and things like this and journeys, and it's very easy to lose yourself in that idea that this is all about taking somebody somewhere or changing somebody. But actually a premise needs considerably more than that, because that's really the things that's already been found, the basic stories. What you need to know is why this romance, why this quest, why this revenge story, why is this, issue of good versus evil going to be interesting this time around. So let's look at the things that make it interesting, that you need in those couple of sentences that are going to capture someone's imagination and make them go, I want to know more about that idea, as opposed to the other one I've got sat on my desk or I'm looking at on my iPad. So here goes. The things you need. Well, one, you need a genre. You need to know the type of story you're trying to tell. Now, we could spend several hours on genre, and in a future podcast, I'll actually spend some time explaining the different genres that are really important when it comes to the screen, both in terms of cinema, television, web, and games. Because actually genre are an all-embracing set of conventions that actually help people understand where the stories are working, why they're working in the way they are, and also set up audience expectations that help you work out what's original. So you'll start out and you'll say, this is a romance piece, this is a thriller, this is a horror, this is a story set in the past where someone meets someone else and demands an answer. But all that's too abstract. People will go, yeah, and? So this is when it comes down to the detail again. Characters are really important. It's no really good saying the detective or the love interest. You need to give them a name. You need to describe them in a short, brief statement that makes the reader or the listener sit up and take notice and go, oh, that's the sort of detective I haven't heard before. Or that's the sort of person I haven't heard fall in love. Or that's the person whose journey clearly is going to be difficult, because that's not the sort of person that takes that type of journey. In other words, your character has to have something that is unique about them, that stands out from the crowd. Which is why, of course, so many people talk about finding characters first or falling in love with characters. Because they tend to be, at the early stages of a project and its ideas, the thing that does stand out from the crowd. But you need to find normally more than one character. And actually, even if you do think your story, your idea is focused all around one person, they're still going to need an antagonist of some way, shape or form. And it's no good just going, the baddie. You might get away with going, they're escaping from a vast tornado if you're doing some massive sort of nature versus humanity escapade. But it's only at that level one can get away without having a really true character. And at the end of the day, why are we running away from this tornado or that tidal wave? Because in essence, those films have already been made, those books have already been written, if that's all you're going to give me. So we move on. We've got character, we've got genre, and we've got the character or force that is the antagonist. What else do we need in our beginnings, our necessary start to a great idea? Well, we need a time and a place. If you don't say that this is set in the future or the past at a particular location, people will tend to assume that it's actually taking place where they're sitting and it's happening now. So if you suddenly, in the middle of your premise, insert something that doesn't belong here and now, they'll think, oh, this is a bit weird. Or that you're actually trying to do a science fiction piece, when in fact, of course, you may not be trying to do anything of the kind. This means that time and place are really important, and of course they become more important if you're aiming at something that's set in the future, or something that is set in the past, or something that's set outside the culture of the bulk of people who are going to read your initial idea. Because this is important too. You may know your world extremely well. This doesn't mean everybody else does. And you need to actually ask yourself, how many people know the world in which I'm setting this story? Or where this idea is coming from? Because if they don't, it's probably worth somewhere in the premise actually giving again a very brief description of how that world works or feels. And when I mean brief, I do mean brief. In terms of the characters, I'm thinking of no more than 5 words. And it's the same with the location. 2 or 3 is really what you're aiming at. Just so that you give a flavour of these people and a flavour of the place and time. Because that is, in essence, all we're looking for when we set up an idea. A sense of something. So that it asks and begs us in a way to keep reading, keep looking, keep flicking through the pages to see what else there is following up this initial couple of sentences. So we have your genre, you have your characters, your antagonistic force, and you have time and place. What else do you need to keep people interested? Well, actually, you need a problem. You need something that's going to make them say, there's a drama here. There is actually a story. And in that sense, you need an active question. The active question, in essence, is that basically, here is a problem. Can they solve it? Pure and simple. And finally, form. The last part, really, of a good premise or idea. You may not know the form that your idea is going to take. You may just have a story to tell, a set of characters, a problem that they need to solve. And you may not know yet whether it's going to become a web series, a graphic novel, prose novel, a stage play, or anything. And that's why I've left it to last. Many good ideas actually spring up as you're developing other things, or when you're talking to someone, or when you overhear a conversation on the bus. But in reality, you've no idea where it's really going to go. And in the course of development, it may end up being a TV series that you never even dreamed of. So in that sense, form is important to a premise when you're talking to someone who's only looking for TV series, or only looking for the new web hit, or looking for a new game idea. But when you're actually thinking about ideas, it tends to be late in the day, unless you know you want to write that feature film, or you want to write that novel or stage play, or develop that new game. So in that sense, form is probably the last thing you need to worry about when you're coming out with your bright new idea.